welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, this is a big one.
It's the anniversary cycle starting up.
That's right.
So, this is going to be a good one. 5-year champion.
5 years, yes. We have done this for half a decade.
Can't believe I haven't strangled you yet.
Yeah, despite many efforts, right? No, this is going to be a big one. We do this every year. It's our Champion of Champions Top 8 debate. And the way this works is really simple. Each month we do a different Top 8 debate. You guys know it. You listen to our podcast. You know what we're talking about. The winners from each of those ones that we've done go up against each other in a Champions Edition. And that game that wins this all will ascend and will no longer be debated from now on.
We have 4 other ascended games. We have Gloomhaven was our first year.
Yep.
Our second year was Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Mm-hmm. Then we had Return to Dark Tower. And then last year, Concordia joined the ranks. So which game will join the ranks and not be argued anymore? Until we get to like the 8th year, we'll do the Champions
then we'll do the Champions of Champions.
And then we'll be done with this. We probably won't be, but...
No, until we get to year 36. And then, well, you know... No, it's 64. Year 64.
64, oh, good lord.
Once we have the Champions of Champions of Champions.
You're having a lot of faith in my health. I would be 104 in year 64.
Well, get started on those multivitamins now, because we're aiming for that. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
How's it going, Heinz?
Hey, Heinz. Good seeing you. Yeah, this is really fun. We always like these topic debates, and they can be somewhat contentious, but there's so many great games on here. All games that I pretty much enjoy to play. Yeah. Some I like more than others, but mostly I don't dislike any of these.
Oh, you hate one of them.
I don't hate
you
one of them.
You do hate one of them.
I don't hate one of them.
Uh-huh.
We'll talk about that.
Our past arguments have said otherwise.
I'm just saying, it's the lowest of all of these, personally, but I get it.
I'm trying to think what is my least favorite out of all these, and it's probably the 5th seed.
Probably the 5th seed.
Even though I do like it, I like a variant of it a lot more.
Yeah, sure. But we'll see.
But
I mean, we have to take our bias out of it, right?
Yeah, that's why we got the criteria right there.
That's right. So let's talk about it. We have 9 games total that won our top 8 debates throughout the year. Mm-hmm. We had some hiatuses on some of them, so we got delayed a little
bit. We did 9 total, the top 8 debates. We had to cancel, or not cancel one, but move one, because that's when we were doing our top 100. Yep. And I believe we also lose one because this is the start of our year. Yep. The Champions Edition is one. We don't get to argue the winner of this one. So this one, what happens here is April, that's out for us. Yep. February was out for us recently because we had the top 100 going on where we had the guests. And let everybody know in the background, I think the way I have it set up, mind you, we're recording a little ahead, that you'll hear the rest of the top 100 by the end of this week if I can get Game Head Geek over to record.
Cool. Awesome. I know, we still need to react to some of the stuff, so we'll still have to see that. All right, cool. Well, let's get into today's episode. But before we do, Daniel, what have you been playing?
A couple of games. Actually, I've been playing quite a bit. We were lucky enough that we were able to play... I had lucky enough to play 2 days straight of board games. Yep. I did Saturday and Sunday this weekend. You were able to join on Sunday. Yep. I do have one game from there, and next week when we do our Tits and Giggles, you might hear a few more games from that time frame, but we played a lot of games then. But the first one I'm going to talk about was from the game day before we did the top, the massive weekend game day. And that was a game we were kind of telling you about yesterday when Damn It Dom asked you, what do you think number 2 over here would like about this game? And I'm like, no, he would love this game. Fantastic, because it has 2 things you thoroughly enjoy, especially one. It's an ice split you choose, tile placement game. Yep. And this is called Rome in a Day. This is a fantastic game. It's really quick. I think we played it with the teach in like 45 minutes. And the teach took... It reminded me of Juicy Fruits. Okay. The teach took longer than the actual gameplay of it.
Right.
Because we had to figure out how everything worked. And so what's going to happen was we all have our own individual stack of tiles. You're going to draw 5... You're going to shuffle them up, and you're going to draw 5 up behind a screen.
Okay.
And then you have your own randomized player cards that's going to have certain buildings on it. So the first 2 tiles that you flip up behind the screen have specific buildings. They all correlate to a color of a tile. And the way you're going to score is the building has to be adjacent or on a tile of its color for it to trigger points.
Gotcha.
And then when you take it, you split it into a minimum of 1 pile to... You have 5 tiles, so it could be a 1-to-4 ratio. But you can make it enticing, too, if you start noticing what everybody's collecting. Because when you build your tiles, it's in front of your thing, so everybody knows what your land is going to look like.
Okay.
So you're triggering all that, and it's quite interesting. You split that pile, then you lift your lid, and then based on your cards that you have in your hand, depending on where you're facing, so sometimes I'm going to choose from the left, sometimes I'm going to choose from the right. I have 2 cards that tells me I'm going to choose the large pile or the smaller pile. If I choose the larger pile, I get more tiles, which is fine, which helps me with my grid. If I choose the smaller tile, when you make the piles, you have to add a crystal in there. And crystals allow you points at the end of the game and stuff like that. But it also can make it enticing for someone to collect all these crystals. So I get basically 2 or less tiles in a crystal. So it gives you that I'm not going to get a massive amount of points for like the big pile, but I'm still getting a crystal. That could be very helpful. And so it's that simple. You play it over 4 rounds. Whoever made the best connections, highest score wins. And that's it. Like I said, it was was longer than the playthrough.
That sounds
fantastic
fun.
Game. Rome in a day.
I've been
Alley
looking
Cat
at that
games.
one. Yeah, it looks cool. Maybe I'll have to pick that up. Give it a try. First game I want to talk about today was a game that we did play in our Sunday group. It's a game I brought over, and I just wanted to bring it up because I want to hear your thoughts on it. It's called Paleska Fluster, or the version we played was the Google Data Manager card game.
It's crap.
Okay, so carry on.
No. Honestly, it was pretty good. I liked it. It's interesting.
It's different, right?
I don't want a Google version of it. I want an actual
that's
game
fine.
version
Yeah,
of it.
I totally get that. I mean, it was just such a weird circumstance of events that I picked up a copy. It was by accident, no less. And I've been raving about this game to you, and I was like, you know what, I'm finally going to bring this over and show you.
Yeah.
And so we played about, 10 rounds or whatever, 10 hands?
Something like that. It ended
like
up with, I think we played to 4 points. Normally it's 6 points for a 3-player game.
Yep.
But you had a family obligation, so you had to leave the rest of the night.
Exactly. So. But yeah, so the way this game works is really simple. You're just trying to play out your 6 cards in front of you. If you're the first player to do that, you win. However, if you ever play a duplicate of a card that you have in front of you, you immediately lose and everyone else wins. Which is hilarious when that happens, because that's more often than not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And now, every card, there's 7 different types of cards, and they each have their own ability. Everything from trade a number of cards from my hand with a number of cards from your hand, everything from swap 2 cards in front of people, everything from returning a card back to your hand, making it a little bit longer for you, even showing your hand to everybody or discarding a card and drawing a new one. Just real simple different abilities.
Yeah.
However, when I play a card, I enact the ability, and I must be able to do it if possible. And then the color of the card that I played is the next player who takes their next turn. Meaning you and me can go back and forth a number of times before Dom ever gets a turn.
Yeah.
But there's some balancing in that, because there's gray cards, which those gray cards just immediately apply to whoever has the fewest cards amongst everybody in front of them.
And if there's a tie, and this is my favorite part, when you're
if there's a tie,
you can choose who goes.
Whether you're involved in the tie or not, the player who played the card chooses of the tied players who takes the next turn.
Yeah.
And it's one of the funniest things where you force another player to play, they put down the card and they show their hand, and they have 4 cards and they can't play any of them.
Yeah.
And then the other players look at each other like, all right, let's get him. Let's get him. All we gotta do is make him play 1 card, right? It's so silly. It's so backstabby, but
it's a neat little game.
And it's not a take that game, but it's a clever backstabbing.
My favorite one, once we figured out you could do this, is when you play the card down, you could do the trade.
Yeah.
You don't have to be involved in the trade.
Right. You can trade
so
2
I could
other people's
screw
cards.
you guys over.
Yeah. It's you can't play this card. Cool. Take that one.
I keep seeing you take this one, so I'm going to give this back to you and give this back to you.
Yeah. It always boils down to that moment where it's all right, Dom, it's your turn. And he looks at his hands. You guys get points.
Yeah.
And he throws down his hand out of anger. It's so fun. And I think I'm gonna have to do like a review of it, because the thing is, like, I've only found a single video review of it in English, and it's a guy from Britain, I believe, who had to special order it from Germany, and he made like this really quiet like version, or like quick little video talking about it and explaining how it works. I gotta talk about it, like, and I think the predecessor, I'm probably gonna pick up a copy too.
You don't have to talk about it. You want to talk about
Oh,
it.
I want to talk about it. Palace Geflüster,
I mean,
it is.
Spoiler alert, it made his top 100. That's how much you liked it.
Yeah,
so.
I love clever games like that, and it does some great
It's a neat
stuff.
little game. Like I said, I want to pick up if they ever make like a. I know you said another game is kind of like it. If you can find
Venturesome by G.A.M.E.R.
Yeah, if I can just get a new version of it, I'd probably pick up that.
Yeah, I might make a mass order and just say, hey, who wants a copy of Venturesome amongst us, right?
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be the successor, a little more streamlined. I'm sure it'll work fine.
All right, so the next game and final game I'm going to talk about today, outside of what I've been playing, outside of the other games we're going to be talking about later today, is one that I played on the Saturday of the all-day gaming weekend. And it was one that me and Damn It Dom were playing. Saturday was just me and Damn It Dom. But this one always intrigued me. I'm not a big CCG guy, and this is a CCG game. The only one I've ever gotten into really is Lorcana. And I like Lorcana for the simple fact that you don't necessarily have to beat up your opponent, and you can still have a chance to win the game. The one I am gravitating here and talking about is the new Star Wars from Fantasy Flight game, Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion. I was able to get it played. It's a fun little head-to-head. It has some really neat aspects of it. It's kind of magic-like-ish because of the head-to-head combat. It doesn't do anything different in that aspect. You're fighting your opponent. It has a little feel of like Star Realms, because you're not really trying to hit the opponent for his life points. You're trying to beat up their base. So the Star Wars deck building game, think of that one. You're just beating up the base. So what you're doing is you're drawing up your cards, and you have two areas. You have ground units and you have space units. So you have a space battle side going on, so you can either attack the space battle guys, or you have your ground units go head to head. They come in exhausted. It also takes something for Lorcana, where your cards are your resources as well. So at the start of the game, you'll have two resources, and that's it, or one resource. And then when you're going into the next round, you can choose to put out another resource. And you keep doing that, and you're tapping your resources, playing your things. You can tap your resources to activate cards. Once you get to a certain point, you can do a one-time epic adventure, which gives you your best leader unit. So for me, I played Darth Vader. Damn It Dom was Luke Skywalker. And it was really neat what it did. And I liked how it worked, but I still think I'm going to stick to Lorcana. The one thing I wish Lorcana would do that Star Wars does, any card can be resource. Don't matter what. You look at your card, I don't need this card. I'm going to use it in the refresh part of the round, put it down, it's going to become a resource for me. Okay. And Lorcana, you need to have that special tag before it becomes ink for you. That's what it is. Is like, I don't really need these cards, but I wish I could turn this ink. Other than that, this is a dead hand or card in my hand that I don't really need. I wish Lorcana could fix that kind of thing and do what the Star Wars Unlimited is doing. So that's one of the things I've always liked is multi-use cards. I can turn this. I don't need this. I'll put it here.
Yeah.
I do like some of the tags on there. So like if you have a Sentinel out, then you have to be, that has to be attacked before anything else can be attacked. It's really neat. I dug it. I don't know. I'm going to deep dive into it like other CCGs. I may pick up a starter set here and there. Other than that, I think it's a fantastic game.
Cool. And the last game I want to talk about is a two-player game as well. It's a brand spanking new game called Balconia. And this game is really interesting how it works. Balconia is by Paul Schulz, and he's just like a brand new designer who is coming on, but he has like a handful of games. The other game that I have from him is Dropolter, where you have like all the different bits in your hand and you're trying to drop them like the right number of bits. And so this is a very different game. This is a strategic game. It's kind of an I split you choose style game.
Okay.
Except it's not. So the way it works is you have a 5x5 grid in between the two players, and that makes up the apartment like facade that you see in front of you. And you have these little boxes. So you flip over a token, and it'll tell you which little box that you're going to be sliding in. And on each of the 4 sides of this box, because it's empty on the top and bottom, it'll tell you different ways to score points. Like one might say, and one thing I really liked about it is the art is really just like this super cartoony, almost like Adult Swim, like kind of just really silly, really creative art, and a lot of it pertains to other people, or other tokens. So like for example, there's one with like a cat like clawing on this the windowsill, right?
Oh, you actually like the cat, huh?
No, so hear me out, and that scores 1 point for every like sunshade you have on that row, because obviously the cats want to go through it. There's one where it's like these 3 like rockabilly guys who are all like standing there like ready to party, and one's throwing up because he just like had a late night, I guess, and they get 1 point for every music note that's adjacent to them. Like just like silly stuff like this. There's like this lovebird who's like looking to the side, and if you get another lovebird that's looking to the opposite direction anywhere in that row that's adjacent to them, then those score points, 5 points each, right? And so it's like conditional, and there's all these just cool different little things. Like there's an empty clothesline that's looking for clothes in a contiguous group, and there's some that are really funny, like the cat lady who has a cat with her, and she's trying to look for the largest grouping of cats near her, or the birds who are looking down. There's like
attacking a woman. I got it. Yeah.
No, no. There's the birds. They're looking down from their balcony, and they get 1 point for every person below them, and you know what that's implying. Like bombs
away.
Yeah, and so like the cartooniness is just really funny, just genuinely really funny, and it adds to the flavor of it. So the way it works is that you choose which 2 sides face you. Like if I get the box, I put the 2 sides that I want towards me, and then my opponent can look at their 2 sides and my other sides, but choose one of those 2 sides that I gave for them, and they are going to slot it in one of the adjacent spots to what's already been built in our balcony. So one of them I'm always aiming for. I'm like, oh, I want to go for the birds. Like that'd be great. And then of course every time she would grab it, because I was playing with my daughter. She would grab the box like, all right, I'll use this one, and it would be totally the one that I didn't want anyway.
Yeah.
And she'll slide it in a place that doesn't help me at all. And so it's just it was really clever, really charming little game, great components. I'll have to bring this over and show you. I know you hate 2-player, but I think you might make an exception for this.
I play 2-player games, just not with you.
No, with Damn It Dom. Damn It Dom! So let's get into today's topic. This is the top 8 debate for our Champions Edition 2025.
Our 5th year.
Our 5th year doing this, which will be really fun. Our 5th year, but this will be the 5th Ascended game.
Yep.
We are looking forward to this. Let's talk about what those games are.
All right, our number 1 seed is a 2-time winner here, a 7 Wonders Duel, which won both the Bruno Cathala games in the 2015 games, the most recent one. And so how we do our ranking on this part, if you win multiple ones, you automatically get a higher seed.
Yep.
However, even if that wasn't the case, 7 Wonders Duel will still be our number 1 seed, because then it goes into who is the highest on BGG ranking.
That's right. Going up against our number 8 seed, Risk Legacy, which won our Mass Markets game.
Mm-hmm. Our number 2 seed, Wingspan, which won the Kinderspiel de Jahres top 8 debate.
Yep. Our number 7 seed, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, which I don't remember what it won.
It won the OP.
The OP, yes.
Number 3 seed, Cascadia, which was the winner of the Beth Sobel art.
Our number 6 seed, Sushi Go Party, which was the
winner,
party games.
Food theme.
Food theme games.
Yep, and our number 4 seed, Horrified, which won horror movies.
And going up against our number 5 seed, Carcassonne.
You should know this one. It's the Spiel des Jahres winner.
Yeah, the Spiel des Jahres winner, yep. I had to think, it was like tile laying? Like
no, we've done that.
Danny's picks? Like, I don't know. That would be an interesting top 8 debate. Let's just top 8 debate. Like,
worst Danny's picks.
No, shut up. Our top 8 from each of us. Yeah, that would be really fun, actually. But anyway, that's regardless. Or top 8 debate, Damn It Dom's top 8.
And so, yeah, there you go. And the last game that we had that won, because remember, we only did 9 this past year,
Yep.
was Cities, who won 2024 games.
Yep.
Give your thoughts on Cities.
So Cities by Steve Finn and Phil Walker Harding. And it is a really clever game from G.A.M.E.R where you have 4 different types of things. Tiles, like endgame missions, which looks like little cell phone cards. You have building pieces that you can stack on there, and you have little like decorative things like sculptures or boats or islands or whatever.
You can kind of see it right over my shoulder right
Yeah, and on your turn or on each round, you're gonna pick one of each of those 4 things. You just choose when you pick what, and whatever is still available.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, once I pick a tile, I can't pick a tile ever again for that round.
Yeah.
So if I see a tile I really want, but I also see a card I really want, I have to make that decision. When is the best time to do it? Do I get the tile now and risk losing the card, or take the card and risk losing the tile? It's really clever how it works. It's standard Phil Walker Harding style of very easy decisions, but it has a really cool favor from Steve Finn, and how he has like a lot of variability and a lot of multi-use for a lot of different stuff. I like it a lot. It's great production for what it is. I only have one minor quarrel, which we brought up during the podcast.
In the debate, yeah.
In the debate, and that is just because some of the buildings, they're all the same shape, so they're not color-coded. So it's not super colorblind friendly. Yeah. Other than that, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I like everything about this game, too. There's a reason why I own it. It was on my Christmas list for the last couple of years. I dig it. It's Phil Walker Harding, for one thing. And then him and Steve Finn, you can kind of see both their fingertips in this one.
Yeah.
I like that kind of drafting, because it's like, okay, I'm going second in this round. Which is the one I want more? Okay, he took the card that I really wanted, so I guess I'm going to take the tile now. And that little push and pull aspect is like, oh, I got first choice. There's a lot of good stuff out here, but I really want that water tile, because that's going to give me a really good section on that water tile, because one of the in-game scorings could be like the longest continuous water feature on your lands. So I really dug that one. I think it's fantastic. I'm sad it didn't make our top 8 debate, but I'm kind of glad it didn't, because I would be sad if it got beat up really bad.
yeah. It's just because it doesn't win today doesn't mean it won't later on.
Well, I mean, it's already won one, so...
Yep.
So
it has a chance for all the others. So let's talk about what some of the comments were. We posted this on the Board Game Revolution group in Facebook, as we always do, and we let people vote for their favorites, because when tiebreaker happens, that's why those votes really matter.
And what's interesting about this, too, is that this is one of the few ones where we don't allow them to make honorable mentions. We need to get a concise vote.
Yes, exactly. But we did let them include comments about why they picked the ones that they were. And you'll notice a theme as we read our comments. Let's begin by talking with Richard's comment, saying, lots of good games there, but Horrified is such an approachable and thematic co-op.
I don't disagree with him on that. It is an approachable and thematic co-op.
Yep.
Michael also said he voted for Horrified because I love an immersive co-op experience so much it pushes away my dislike of horror themes in general. Yeah.
Scott brought up something. Cascadia is pretty decent, but apparently you don't play or discuss any heavy games, which is not true, because we do. It just depends on the category we're debating, of course.
Exactly. And then the fact that some of these categories that these games won had some heavy games in there.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not like we don't like them. It's just, based on our criteria, heavier games are going to have a harder time, too. Because we want the games that we're talking about to be more approachable.
Yes.
And I did mention to Scott, it just depends on the category, as you said. Yep. Randy said, these are too light for me personally. Wingspan and Carcassonne are okay, but didn't enjoy any of the others. More starter games, in my opinion.
Yep.
Richard added to that. He says there's more staple and mainstream games, or mainstay games, sorry. I'll happily play ultra heavy games, but it's not what I want to spend the majority of my gaming hours doing, and I don't disagree with that comment.
I agree with that 100%. Ryan says, I have to admit I'm not a huge fan of any of those games, frankly. Horrified is the best of that lot, but it's pretty true to that theme in a 1940s universal kind of way.
And it's still my favorite Horrified, so...
Yep.
Richard says, Carcassonne, accessibility and a great gateway game I can play with folks who aren't gamers.
Tamara said, of these, I haven't played all of them, but Wingspan would be my favorite. It is by no means my favorite game, but I prefer it over the others available.
Randy stated, none of these are really my cup of tea. I prefer medium weight Euros or lightweight puzzles, party, hidden trader games. Mainstream games would be Terraforming Mars, Hadrian's Wall, Zolkin, and Puerto Rico. But if he had to make a pick, it would be Carcassonne would be the only one he would choose.
Very puzzly, which makes sense. JJ put Cascadia because it's too easy and puzzly fun time. Also, because Best Sobel's art is always worth talking about. Which
we agree.
Wingspan is in the list as well. So.
Well, it's not just that. We also debated it too. Yep. So there's a reason we did a whole debate on Best Sobel art. And then finally, Benjamin added, Carcassonne is still a great game to play after all these years. I love the tile laying, the building of the landscapes cooperatively while you're competing competitively. It's got the moment of surprises as you draw your tile. It's got the fightiness of trying to take over someone's city or road or farmland, but also got core simplicity and lots of expansions. And that is not a joke. There is a lot of expansions.
There's a lot of expansions. That's right. And, strangely enough, there was no comments specifying our number one seed, Seven Wonders Duel. So let's see how that plays out during the debate today.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So let's tell them how we actually do our debates.
All right. So the first thing we got to do is we both have to have played the game. That is a big requirement for it because we can give sound, concise arguments when we do something. And I realize something, so take over.
Okay. Yeah, so now that we have both played the games, we take the highest ranking from them. Now, in this example, normally we base it based on whatever their categorical debate that we're doing, like tile placement or Best Sobel art. Then we put it on BoardGameGeek.com and put it in there ranked from number 1 down to the last one. And we take the top 8 that him and I have both played. And again, the reason we do that is to make sure we can both argue either side. Afterwards, we are going to flip the coin of doom, and that will determine who debates first. Then Daniel will pull from the Cup of Doom, which will have the 2 different categories, or 2 different games that we'll be debating over. That'll be the game we argue for, and then we play it out. We'll go from the quarterfinals to the semifinals to the finals, and that will crown our winner. There's also 5 criteria that we like to argue over while we're doing that. And so while you're finishing that up, I'll take over for this.
Sounds good.
We call this our G.A.M.E.R criteria. That stands for G.A.M.E.R, and I'll explain what each of those are here in a moment. The first one, G, game immersion. Is the game fun to lose? Player interaction, like table talk or role-playing, and memorable moments. And this is specifically positive, memorable moments.
Oh, we're doing it positive now?
We should. We really should. Then A is art and production. The art, standard art, and we know it's subjective, but some of it is very clearly better art.
We have 2 very pretty games that have a prolific artist attached to them.
Yes, exactly. The pieces and components. This goes from everything like the quality of the components, the pieces, the amount of production value per
acrylic standees versus minis.
Acrylic standees versus minis, or just cardboard standees, right? Or pawns that represent things. Those are all things that we do it. Also packaging, like that's a big thing. Like if it's easy to get to the table because the insert is so good, that's gonna be a factor.
Also the box cover too, so it's got to get something to pull it off the shelf too.
Exactly. And then finally graphic design. Me and Daniel are both colorblind, so if your game is not colorblind friendly, we knock it big time. But we're also talking about like the amount of iconography. How easy is the iconography to determine? Are there any things that muddle up or make it difficult to play because of the graphic design choices? Anything along those lines. Then we have
meaningful choice, impacting on other player strategies, the depth of strategy, tactic, or skills, and do arbitrary choices or AP make a negative impact on the game.
And then we have ease of play, simplicity and familiarity of the mechanisms, likelihood to get to the table, whether that's mechanism or theme, and is it easy to learn, understand, and or teach.
And we have replay value, the length of time and scaling well. Does it play relatively well to 1-4 players? We just found out about a 4-player game that took a long time just yesterday.
It doesn't scale well.
It's a good game, but it took a long time.
Yep.
Minimum number of plays for a full experience. This is where sometimes campaigns can come in handy, or stuff that just has a lot of stuff in it. In expandability, stuff that already has existing expansions, or does have expansions coming out, or expansions that have been guaranteed by the publisher or the designer.
That's right. And if all comes down to it, and nobody has a vote, and we can't come to a consensus, that's why it's so important you vote on the Board Game Revolution group. And I decided to bring out the Return to Dark Tower coin.
Because it's ascended.
Because it's one of our ascended games. So let's use this as our coin of doom today. Here we go. You ready to get into debate number 1?
Get into ready to debate number 1.
This is heads. This is tails.
Got it.
Here we go. You'll be starting us.
And I'm getting Risk Legacy.
And by the way, this is Seven Wonders versus Risk Legacy. Seven Wonders Duel, sorry.
Seven Wonders Duel. Seven Wonders is not on this
Very
list. It could have, but it lost to Wingspan during the Kinderspiel top 8 debate. Alright, so the first one I got here is Risk Legacy, with a caveat. We have not completed it. We've played through enough of the system to understand the core mechanisms of this game. But we do enjoy it. We like it a lot. We do want to get back into it. We are playing a 3-player Legacy game. One of my goals this time year is I want to do an all-day gaming just to get that one done, and as well as the other stuff that we're doing as a group. I do like this game a lot. It is fun to lose. It does have some good player interaction, especially when you're trying to egg on the other player to push a certain button and do certain things in the game. It does lend to those memorable moments, especially when we're talking about like opening something up. Opening one of those boxes or one of the packages and stuff in that game. Yep. So it's really neat on that aspect. So I think for sure game immersion goes to Risk Legacy. As much as I like Seven Wonders Duel,
it's not immersive.
It's not immersive.
Let's be real.
It's very mechanistic, if you can say anything. The art and production is actually good for first off, a mass market game.
Yes.
And 2, a game that came out, 2011?
Yeah.
So it's got really decent art, decent graphic design. You really can't mess up a Risk Legacy graphic design because it's basically a map of the world.
Yeah.
But it does look really cool. It does look very futuristic and that kind of stuff. The pieces and components could be a little bit better. Mind you, it is mass market. The card quality could be a little better. So
the box is corrugated cardboard.
Yeah, there's stuff there that could be a little better. Does have some really good, meaningful choices. You are still beholden to dice rolls, and so that's the big problem with Risk in general, or some of those old mass market games, is the dice rolls. So that it's not as clean or simple as, say, something like a Seven Wonders Duel. But there is some very impactfulness of this, and there's a lot of depth of strategy for a game like Risk that you wouldn't believe about how you want to play. Do you want to turtle in a certain area? It has a decent catch-up mechanic in there, too, so if someone's getting throttled through the first 2 storylines, they may have something ability to make them get back into the game, and that is handy.
The choice of the characters at the beginning of each game, that's really the big thing.
Yeah.
Just because you beef up your faction doesn't mean you got to keep it.
Exactly. So it does have some depth and strategy, as well as some decent tactics in there. Ease of play. If you know Risk, you kind of know how to do this one. It is probably one of the more difficult mass market games to play, just based on the rules and stuff like that. In the replay value, this is the other one I think for sure Risk Legacy gets because of the length and time of scaling well. It plays pretty quickly. You can play up to 4 players, if I remember correctly. And it's relatively decent. I think we did like 2 or 3 games of it in one night, and it was fine. Minimum number of plays for the full experience. It's a legacy game, so it's always going to trump on this one. As well as the expandability, there's not really anything you can expand on this one because it's a legacy.
Yeah, so there is no expandability.
Yeah,
technically.
But it does have that number of plays, and the length of time scaling well, I think, is where it shines. So for me, I think Risk Legacy does really well. I could see no problem with it going on, but let's hear what you got to say about Seven Wonders Duel.
Seven Wonders Duel is the highest ranking game in our list today, and the only winner of 2 debates this year, and there's a reason for that. Seven Wonders Duel was the predecessor to the well-regarded Seven Wonders game, and it took it into a specifically two-player format. Oh yeah, successor to the Seven Wonders format, and it brought it into a two-player format only, which was really good.
Because the two-player format in the original Seven Wonders sucked.
Yeah, it was just some
dummy
random
player.
Dummy player. You just pick a card at random and discard it.
Yeah.
It didn't work. They don't play that way anymore. But Seven Wonders Duel, I'm going to say right now, I'm not a fan of Seven Wonders. And there's a reason for that.
Pick and pass drafting.
I always thought, pick and pass drafting was one of them. But the biggest thing about it is that it coined itself as a game that was supposed to be simple. And for the amount of choices you make, there was a lot of extra lifting you had to do to play something theoretically so simple. And it was too complex for what it was trying to do.
My big thing about it is the borrowing from the other players.
Yes.
Why do you need that extra step?
Right, exactly.
Why don't you do what it does in Seven Wonders Duel? Throw this card, get a coin.
Yep, exactly. And so the thing is with Seven Wonders Duel, the biggest reason I didn't like Seven Wonders is because it was too complex for what it was trying to do. This one fixed that problem. It made it as complex as it needed to do. Because now you have 3 different ways to win. You can either win by technology, you can win by warfare, or you can win just straight up by points at the end of the game, which is a big tug of war in a lot of different ways. The way it lays out the cards in like a solitaire Klondike style, you're trying to pull out just the right cards when you want them to. Every card you pull might reveal cards for your opponent that might help them. That's part of the random that you're not so certain of, which some cards are face down, some are face up. That's a really cool decision space. Knowing that you can only pick a card that doesn't have any cards on top of it. Meaning if I take a card and I know what's under it, and I'm like, that would let you take that card, which might potentially let you win. There's a lot of give and take about what strategy, what depth, and the fact that it plays really well in 2 players over 3 rounds. And about 30, 40 minutes, it works really well. I agree with you about the replay value, 100%. That's not even debatable. What was the other one you said was...
the game immersion.
Yes, agree with that. Yeah. So in order for Seven Wonders Duel to move on, it needs to win the other 3. Meaningful Choice, I think, hands down goes that.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I can't disagree with you. And a big part of it, too, like I said with Risk Legacy, it's the dice rolling. There is arbitrary choices because you're beholden to luck.
Right. Exactly. Now, as far as art and production, I think that also goes to Seven Wonders. The art was very well regarded when it first came out. The iconography is very beautiful, and the components are technically waterproof, as we've discussed before.
Here we go again.
No, I joke because I dropped one of the pieces into a cup of water. Not a problem after I dried it off, right? Normally, cardboard would split apart and be destroyed.
You also did something to one of the pieces where it sat in your cup holder for a while.
Yeah,
it took 5 years for it to get ruined.
It took like 5 years for it to finally damage that like single cardboard coin. It's pretty impressive. I'll have to bring it in sometime and show you because I still have it in there. But no, the piece of components are just really fantastic in Seven Wonders Duel. The art's beautiful. The tray is set up really nicely. It holds everything in perfectly. It has just enough room to add a little bit more to it, but no wiggle room. It fits in a small container, and the iconography is beautiful. So I think art production goes to that. So it all boils down to ease of play. This is where it's going to really get tricky.
Yeah.
Ease of play, we're going Seven Wonders Duel, which is not... I mean, I referenced Solitaire before, and that is a version of Solitaire that people... I think it's Klondike Solitaire. I might be wrong on that, but it's...
I think it's Klondike Solitaire, where you have the mountain, I guess you can say.
Yeah. It's either that... Klondike might actually be the normal... the one that most people are... Anyway,
they might be.
It's a Solitaire version where he took that idea where you have a pyramid of cards, and they have a layout, and you can only take whatever has no cards on top of it.
Sir, it has 3 layouts.
Well, 3 layouts, yeah, 1 per round. But the thing is, that is a somewhat familiar mechanism if you've played that version of Solitaire. Now, I'm just going by my knowledge of playing cards. I don't think that is by no means the most common version of Solitaire.
It is not.
It's by no means.
It's the one where you get 3 and then 3 in play down.
Right. Yeah, exactly. However, ease of play for a Risk Legacy, a lot of people grow up knowing Risk. So I think the familiarity of rolling some dice, comparing the highest numbers to the highest numbers, I think that has to go to Risk Legacy, of course.
Yeah.
However, the likelihood to get to the table, I'm going to come back to that. Easy to understand, learn to teach. Risk itself isn't that complicated of a game, but since you add on rules throughout it, I feel like that's going to be harder. I feel like it'll be easy to teach because it does it sparingly. I mean, I don't want to say it, but I think Risk Legacy would move on, in my opinion.
Well, when it comes to easy, learn, understand, and teach, I think that Seven Wonders Duel is just a little bit better because things are kind of changing. Now, it's the likelihood to get to the table. Here's where I hem and haw at.
Right.
Is the fact that, yes, people know Risk, but here's the thing. Risk Legacy is a legacy game. Yeah. And there's people who are adamant not destroying pieces of their game.
True.
And especially when this came out, people were like, why do I want to do that? Why am I spending this money and destroying stuff for it?
Right. That kind of became something. You're not destroying things per se. But you are applying stickers and permanently altering the game. And that might matter.
A lot of people were very hesitant doing something like that, and still are to this day. Because they want to keep playing the game that they like. They don't really want to do a lot of permanence to it.
Right. And so I feel like the theme also counterbalances that in a way, because a lot of people know Risk, and Risk 2210 was a massive success for the company because it was like, hey, let's take Risk into space, and you can battle over the moon and like have spaceships that fly around and destroy things. Like, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And people love that retheming of it. Imagine a permanent thing. It's like, oh, I have a nuke card. I can take a guess what this does, but am I going to use it? What's going to be the permutation? I get that. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that's the biggest weight against it is the fact that Legacy, as amazing as it is, for non-gamers, that's a very... If you're not already familiar with Legacy and are already willing to make that sacrifice, literally, of the game...
So for me, I think Ease of Play is a wash for me personally, because I could see the caveat for both of these things.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's 2-2. So, what are you thinking?
I agree. Let's call it a wash for now.
All right. So, let's move on to the fan vote.
Which, now we can blame you. No.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're like, meh.
Yeah.
But no, I can see both of these moving on, and it comes down to ease of play. And we can make sound arguments either way.
Yeah.
So, Risk Legacy is sitting... Seven Wonders Duel sitting at 17%. And Risk Legacy is not getting any love, so Seven Wonders Duel moves on.
All right. That brings us into our next round, which is Wingspan versus Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. And that's kind of a thing that I wasn't expecting.
Yep. Hold on, I'm just writing some stuff down on my board here, because I need to write stuff down on my vote.
Okay.
So... Yeah, so I'm looking forward to both of these. I like both of these games. I like one more than the other. You hate one of these games, so...
I don't hate one of these games. And so here's the thing about this, right? And I'll bring it up right now before we get into the debate. Wingspan is the one that we claim to hate. I was very much adamant against Wingspan because of two things. One, massive hype. Pardon me. Massive hype when it first came out. I'm talking... millions and millions of copies sold. Everyone was saying this is the best engine building game, this is the best game, this is everyone's favorite, all this stuff. I played it, it was fine.
And it's funny, because I keep defending this game.
Right,
saying it's bringing people into the hobby. Now tell your story.
Now, with that being said, since I have recently gotten my own copy, I found it at a thrift store, so that's cool, and I started showing it off at our game night.
Not our game night, the local.
Our local game shop, which I run. I have found more people adamant on learning how to play this game and more excited to bring this in. I have not had this level of people come in and go, hey, I just came in to check out Wingspan real quick. It's like people I'd never seen before. I had no idea who they were, and they just came to just watch a few rounds just to see what it's about. I admit, I get why people are excited about that. My disdain for the game has quelled quite a bit since then. And since I've replayed it, now that I've gotten that fresh look, now the hype is over, right? Mm-hmm. People love it still, that's fine.
It's still very popular.
But now I know what I'm expecting going into it. Mm-hmm. And I play and I'm like, this is fine,
Yeah.
I can now reasonably say I don't think I hate this game. In fact, I don't hate the game. but now I know what expectations I bring to it now.
Yeah.
And it makes it better. So, with that being said, let's flip our coin of doom. Here we go. I'll be starting us off, and I bet I get Wingspan. Yep. So, with that being said, first off, can I just say that I think, personally, out of all of these criteria, game immersion would have to go to Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. For one reason. I will explain my reasoning during our actual debate, but without a doubt, when a game that I actively dislike the IP makes me play the game because it's such a good game, and actually made me like step back and go, okay, the IP is not nearly as bad as I disliked. That says a lot. I need to just say that first off. But, however, I don't think Harry Potter will move on because I think Wingspan will win just about everything else. Because art and production, Beth Sobel art, beautiful. Stonemaier doesn't mess around with their production.
Oh, no, they don't.
They included a dice tower, beautiful wooden dice.
Oh, the dice, yes. I was going to say the dice tower is not wooden. Looks wooden.
Beautiful wooden dice. Great egg tokens. The board is beautiful. Every card is illustrated differently. And I know she's not the only artist, but all of the artists...
and there's two other women artists. I can't see the name of them because I have the big box. So.
Yeah. Like, art and production, without a doubt, goes to Wingspan in that. Also, meaningful choice. I do think that goes to Wingspan as well, because you have to build an engine that's efficient. I do think it's partially up to a lot of the different things, a lot of the different factors with it, that the cards that you draw don't always help you. And one of my biggest step backs for Wingspan is that, yes, all of the cards are unique and they all do different things, but a lot of them do similar things or slightly different versions of the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're unique technically, but
the art is different.
But the art is different, and that's what matters. No, so meaningful choice. I'm not saying it's devoid of meaningful choice. It's still more than Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. That's just trying to build that engine and hope. Whereas this is build your engine and do. You know, that's totally different. Game immersion, I said my piece on that. Wingspan is not immersive. Other than the art is just very much like, you look like you're looking at an encyclopedia.
Really, the only time you're going to get an argument with Wingspan is basically someone took a bird out of the tray that you wanted. That's really the only thing that's going to happen. Exactly. Or they take the food that you were hoping to get around to you.
Yeah, a good overall feeling as you're like, okay, I'm working this is working this way. There's no memorable moments in that. There's not a moment where you're like, oh my god, that's amazing. There's no stand-up moment.
There is some clever stuff in there, like if your engine is starting to fire properly.
Yes, that makes you have a bigger smile. You're like, cool.
That is a memorable moment. It's like, okay, this works with this works with this, but it's never a very lucky moment. At that point.
It's never a stand-up thing where you're like, where you're shouting across the convention center, like, yes, my engine worked! It's like, no, you should have been good, and that should have been the thing, right?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying,
Game immersion, like I said.
Don't knock the clever feeling.
Right. Replay value, though, that's tricky, right?
6 expansions, already said.
There's more expansions. More minimum plays for Harry Potter. Because it is a campaign. Wingspan is not. Minimum 6 or 7 plays because 1 per each movie. And they do have expansions.
2 expansions.
2 expansions, which is not nothing.
Not nothing.
But it all comes down to
I do have a caveat, though. You do need an expansion to fix something from the gameplay where people were having to house roll. That was my thing. They specifically made an expansion for one roll that they actually fixed in every single other reprint.
That doesn't change replayability.
Yeah, no, I'm just...
It doesn't. But I agree with you. That would go into meaningful choice, and that's why Wingspan wins that, by far. You're right. There's one key detail that you will bring up.
And I have to argue for Harry Potter.
I think, honestly, as I prefer Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle over Wingspan, I think Wingspan is definitely moving on. But let's hear your side.
All right. So, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. It's a fantastic game. I played through the entire campaign. I played through all the expansions. There was a couple things with Harry Potter that I have issue with. One, we were just talking about it.
Yep.
There is a rule where there's no way you can cycle the deck.
Yeah. The available
cards that you could pull out. So there's a couple house rules that we had to play with until we got the most recent expansion, which is not even the first expansion. It was the Charms and Potions expansion, where you could reset the market. That's the word I was looking for, the market. Yeah. And the reason being is you're beholden. You just shuffle a thing and what comes up. So if you have high-priced cards, there's no way you can ramp up. There's no way you can save your money either. Yep. So you have to spend it and lose it. And so if we're not able to buy any cards, what's the point? And so you get into that struggle because I've had games like that where the cards were like 6, 7, 8. Like a Dumbledore is worth 8. It's like, how am I going to get that guy when we're in the very beginning of the game? Yeah. So there's that issues. The other issue I had with the game is that it is very, very lucky, depending on certain aspects of the game, because it's basically shuffling a lot of things. You're shuffling the dark arts. You shuffle the villains. Yep. Every thing you have some version of Voldemort you have to fight. Yep. And then the thing is, he's always going to be the last one. In the very beginning, you only have to pull one guy at a time. In the other things, you'll end up getting 2 or 3 as you're going through the stories. But you're also ramping up each box you open up. That's kind of neat. But the fact of the matter is, you can get like bad guys that tag team on top of each other, where they combo really well, and you're discarding cards, you're losing health, and everybody's getting knocked out left and right. And there's nothing you can do to really mitigate that. So it is very lucky based on the Dark Arts card. Based on that. Other than that, it's a fantastic game. It is a pure and simple deck builder. It basically teaches you basic deck building in the first couple chapters. And then it shows you more advanced deck building when you get more of these cards. And then you get these special powers. And it turns from basic deck building to asymmetrical deck building as you're going through the game, especially with some of the expansions and stuff like that. So it's really neat how this game works. I agree with you. The game immersion is better in Harry Potter. It is, I wouldn't say much more fun to lose, but both games are fun to lose because when you're doing Wingspan, you do feel clever. But this one, if you're into the Harry Potter lore, you're going to enjoy it. You love the system so much, you got the Toy Story version.
Oh, yeah.
So it tells you it's a very, really good...
and they've now made an Avatar.
Which I want to get into.
Yeah.
There is a lot more player interaction in Hogwarts Battle because you are talking with your teammates. It's a straight-up co-op. You need to work together to defeat what's going on. There's a lot more stand-up moments, especially when you get down to the nitty-gritty through the stories. And you're like 1 or 2 turns away from the end, and you get that fun, successful, we got the hit, we knocked them out, we beat Voldemort, we're good, all right, we win. And there was only 2 more spots you can do. I agree with you on art production. You're not going to really compete with Stonemaier when it comes to art production. However, I will very few companies say this. I hate Harry Potter's art because of screen captures, and I'm not a fan of screen captures. But those pewter pieces are fantastic. The little dark art pieces. Sure. Those are the best things in the entire thing. My Harry Potter is
the cardboard bits are so chintzy.
To the point where
the board is bland.
The board is bad. But I'm saying I have everything upgraded. The best thing in that is those pewter pieces. And that's it when it comes to pieces of components. So I agree with you on the art and production. And the graphic design is kind of boring. Yep. Because it's legible, it's readable. Functional, boring.
Yeah, we'll put you to sleep.
Yeah, well.
Much like the movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Like how we joke with Leia. It's a lot of browns and greens. Yeah. Meaningful choice. You do have to have some good meaningful choice, but again, it's hampered with the market and stuff like that, so I think that is Wingspan. Ease of play for me is Harry Potter because the theme itself is going to be a likelihood to get to the table. Yes. However, I can't really say that part of it, but the simplicity of the familiarity of the mechanism, as well as it easy to learn, understand, or teach. The other 2 criteria in there. And the reason why I said likelihood to get to the table based on mechanism or theme is that there's been Harry Potter games, hasn't brought anybody new to the hobby. No. Wingspan has brought a lot of people new to the hobby, and that's why I think just right there alone, I give that to Wingspan. But the other 2 goes to Harry Potter. Yeah. No problem.
So ease of play still a Harry Potter. Yeah.
In the replay value, length of time and scaling well. This is a little bit iffy for me on that one because the Harry Potter one does scale really well for players. The
2 to 4, yeah.
The length of time in scaling here, wingspan at a 4-player is going to, again, play longer than a 2-player.
Very long.
Same thing with Harry Potter. It's going to be a little bit longer when you do a 4-player. If you got people who know what they're doing, it's going to go faster.
Sure.
The problem with Harry Potter, when it comes to the scaling well, is that when you're in the beginning of the game, it goes quick. You're like, quick snappy turns, boom,
Right.
boom, 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 because you're learning the game. When you get deeper into there, it gets longer because of the way the system ramps it up. So it's like, oh, I got to do this, but I got to do this, I got to do that. And that's where, like, our first couple boxes of Harry Potter, we could do it in 4-player about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
When we get into the back end of it in the expansions, it was like an hour and a half game. I can get an hour and a half wingspan for 4 players. In fact, I've gotten wingspan with 4 players in 45 minutes. I have the proof. So
I believe you. I just don't comprehend it.
Well, it's because we play it a lot. I play
Right.
it at least 2, 3, 4 times
Right.
a year.
Yeah.
So we're familiar with all the cards. I'm like, oh, I got this bird. I just got to look at the bird and know what its power is. That's how much we play it. So
Sure.
I'm very familiar with a lot of stuff. With the Hogwarts game, and again, you're also beholden to the market. That's my issue. That could also lend to the lengthening of the scale. If you're not getting better cards in your system because you can't buy better cards in your system.
Right. Well, the one big problem with that, you're right, on the later games, and I'm not trying to give spoilers or anything, but of course there's more bad people later in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my biggest drawbacks from that game,
Mm-hmm.
is that, and this is what Toy Story did better,
Mm-hmm.
is that in Hogwarts Battle, they just added more. And then you would add more, and you had to defeat all of them in order to win the round. So they just added more and more and more villains. Like, you don't cycle any of them out. Where in Toy Story, you did. You only play a certain number of villains, and then maybe some from previous ones, but not always.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
And that made it a lot shorter. But yeah, the Hogwarts Battle was really drawn out because of that.
So for me, I go 3-2 wingspan, but what do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I think Wingspan moves on. I agree with that.
Though, mind you, again, we both enjoy Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, and he hates
I don't
the
like
theme
Harry
of
Potter
it.
at all. Yeah, but I mean, this has made it accessible in a way where I'm like, okay, I will tolerate this because I like the game system so much. So.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I enjoy, but and again, best simple art.
Yeah,
Speaking
it's
of
an
which,
exception to the rule. That's what it is. All right, our next round: Cascadia versus Sushi Go Party.
all right,
This is a weird.
it really is. Yeah.
All right,
But
let's see.
what's really funny about it? Both of these are very simple games.
Very simple games. Here we go. I'll be starting us off.
All right. Which one would you prefer?
Probably Cascadia.
You got Sushi Go Party.
Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, so Sushi Go Party. This is a Phil Walker Harding game, which we're a huge fan of Phil Walker Harding games. Sushi Go was like his premier game and the one that pretty much made Game
This
Right
is also kind of
much
like
money.
your exception to the rule when it comes to like picking past drafting.
Yeah, I will gladly play Sushi Go Party almost any time. And this ramps up to 8 players, and all they had to do was add more cards, more variety, more fun.
I also like that you can build the menu.
Yeah, you build a menu, and it changes up every time. You use like 2 appetizers, 3 entrees, a dessert, a couple of like special abilities, some rolls, and there's all sorts of different permutations that you could do with that, which is awesome. What makes it really fun is the fact that even though you change it up every time, most of them make perfect sense how you're doing. You're just doing 3 rounds of making the best sushi meal you can make. And all of the foods score in very similar, or not similar ways, but like ways that are thematic to the food. Surprisingly enough, this is actually, I would say arguably, this is more thematic than Cascadia is because, anyway,
You're building habitats to put out animals.
Yeah, right. That's theoretically what you're doing. With Sushi Go, like, people will actively draft cards because of the sushi that's in there. Because they're like, well, I mean, I would totally personally have a whole thing of tempura. So, like, I would just, and people will do that. And, like, we joke about the Let's Go to Japan game. It's like, oh, I would just go to this because I would go to Akihabara district. I don't care if I can play this card or not. I'm taking this card. And I love games that allow you to do that. And some of the cards, like, that are so fun. So what you do on your turn, you have a hand of cards, you pick one, you put it face down. Everybody does that at the same time. You reveal it, place it down, pass all the rest of the cards to your left. Do that until all the cards are drawn. That's it. Anyway, so that's how Sushi Go works. Do that 3 full rounds, then score up the points you've scored every round, plus your desserts at the end, which score in different ways. That's the game. There's over 25 different food choices or different card choices that you could use in Sushi Go Party. It plays 8 players, and since it's all simultaneous drafting, it's a 30-minute game for 8 players. That's awesome. Now, some of my favorite cards that I want to bring up because they're hilarious is stuff like tofu. Like, at first, tofu, it's like, oh, this is pretty good. It's worth 2 points if you have 1 of them. If you have 2 of them, you're like, okay, it's like 5 points. This is pretty good. And then once you have 3 or more, you've had too much tofu. This is fake. 0 points for your whole set, right? Because you've just ate too much tofu. And eels are the opposite, right? If you have 1 eel, it's really gross. It's like, ugh, I don't want to eat eel. -3 points. But if you get 2 of them, it's 2 points. And if you get 3 of them, it's 7 points. That's awesome. You have menu options where you can trade out other cards. You have chopsticks that you can actually like play 2 cards instead and trade that in and out. You have different rolls where like stuff like tempura and sashimi, where the more you have to put them in either pairs or sets of 3, which is sashimi. It makes sense. Yep. Stuff like dumplings, of course. The more you have, the more collectively it's worth.
What did you call me?
Yeah. And you have all this stuff. G.A.M.E.R makes a really high quality version of this, their 10th anniversary version, and it's only $30, and it's in like a
plastic bento box.
Plastic bento box.
That looks like wood.
It has a wooden lid to it. Yeah. With an actual seal on the cover, because you could actually use that as a real bento box. I wouldn't, but you can. And it has all the cards like from the base game, and it has some extra cool stuff added into it. The Sushi Go Party itself doesn't need expansions, but they do have a couple promo kits for it, just in case if you wanted it.
Also, Sushi Go, the predecessor of this one, is also really good, and it's a good travel game too. Yeah. So,
and it's inside of Sushi Go Party. You could play just the base Sushi Go as the introductory, which is how I normally teach it, which is really simple. And you could even take that as a deck of cards with you out of the party, and you don't need the rest of the stuff if you know that's not what you're going to use.
Yeah.
Good components, good tray, all nice pieces, a double-layered board. It's a fantastic production for what it is. Super easy to learn. I think, honestly, ease of play, that gets it. Cascadia is super simple, but it doesn't get much more simple than this, right? Art and production, I think, is also...
I think deck building comes more simpler than Sushi Go.
Oh, I don't.
Draw your hand, play your hand.
Well, the thing is, drafting is used outside of gaming, right? Like you know, sports drafts and and picks. Like, drafting is a term that is common. It's a common vernacular. So when I tell you, hey,
Speaking of which, the NFL draft's coming up.
Oh, that's cool. So if I tell you, hey, you're drafting a card, and they're like, explain that? Cool. Pick a card you want, put it down, you're going to pass the rest of your hand. I just taught you the game. That's literally all it is. And there's no bad choices. There's less optimal choices, but there's no bad choices. You just take a card. You could play this randomly and you'll still lose. But you will not do as poorly as if you, as some games, I will just beat you down. So, I would like to hear your side. I don't know which one will move on. I have a personal favorite amongst these, but it's a fantastic game nonetheless.
I could already tell you my personal favorite amongst these. I like Sushi Go, but Cascadia, it just blows it out of the water for me. Just because I like everything what Cascadia can do. First off, gorgeous game. Mostly on the box. You have some decent stuff on the tiles, and you have some decent art on the little tokens. But it's mostly just that beautiful box is really what's going to draw you in.
Yep.
Sushi Go Party.
On the cards. Cards has...
the cards.
Yeah, those are pretty.
But it's the same one for all those cards,
right.
too. So all the bears are going to be the same. All the thing. The scoring is going to be different. And that's where I really love Cascadia on that aspect when we're talking about replay value. Because it changes up based on the scoring cards. Yeah. So the Hawks are never going to score the same. And you have 5 cards of each style. Then you throw in the landmark expansions, and it adds a little bit more variance on that as well. That's what I like. It is the first time I played it, the Hawks scored, they have to have space between each other, and they have to look at each other. So you got to draw a direct line on that. The other time, you have to make a triangle, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. And I like everything of that because it changes it up, and I feel like I'm playing the same game, but then I feel like I'm not playing the same game because it makes me use more parts of my brain. It's like, okay, now I know how this works, so I get to do this and I can do this. Okay. Right. Whereas the next time I play it, I'm like, oh, wait, that's right. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. So I need to make sure I can do this and get that there and that there. And I love that variance right there. So for me, that's where I think Cascadia really shines, is that variance, just in that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about pick and pass drafting, Cascadia has a very simple draft too. Uh-huh. You're taking a tile on an animal, and they're connected unless you spin something, which is victory points in essence, because acorns or pine cones could be victory points at the end of the game when you get them. But I can spin that to take whatever animal I want, whatever tile I want. Other than that, I have to basically, in the tableau, pick the tile and the animal that are together. Very simple on that. Mm-hmm. The animals come out very randomly. The tiles come out very randomly. You're building the habitats for these creatures in a tile placement game, which is fantastic on its own. I like tile placement, not as much as you do, but I like that aspect of it. I like the fact that you're placing your animals
there. You place tiles in Sushi Go too. On the board. To set up the game.
But I like the tile placement of this one. I like the fact that I can put the animal on that certain spot because it's going to help me score there. But when you get into the actual scoring as well, not only are you scoring the animals, you're scoring whoever has the most of a territory. You're also scoring like certain groupings of certain things. So it's like, oh, I have this really large desert and I have this really large ocean. I ain't touching the forest because I've already built all this, but it just gives you that little push and pull and that fun. I got like this beautiful salmon run going over here. I love everything about that. Sushi Go Party, both of these games are somewhat immersive, somewhat not immersive. Both games are fun to lose. Both games have somewhat limited player interaction, and it's more along the lines, you took the thing I wanted, and then I was hoping that card was going to come back to me. It's literally the player interaction. There's not a lot of role-playing. There's not a lot of table talk.
Right.
The memorable moments for me, game immersion is really a wash for me on this one because both of them give the same kind of feel. You feel clever in a certain aspect. You feel okay in other aspects. But I'm a push and pull on this one because they're in my mind pretty darn close to each other. You got the pick and pass draft or you have the tile draft. It's really what it is.
I have a counter, but I will wait till you're done.
When it comes to the art and production, I like Cascadia more. The art is fine. I'm not a big fan of cutesy food. It doesn't get me into that element. The food looks good. It just, why is it smiling at me? But other than that, the art is fine in both games. Like I said, it's more so in Sushi Go, even though same thing, everything's pretty much the same. Pieces and components, I like more in Cascadia. The card stock is fine both in Sushi Go. I like the tiles are really nice, thick tiles in Cascadia. It was AEG and Flat Out that did this one, so they did a really good job on that. The burlap sack bag. The graphic design, both games are very legible to read. Yep. For me, I just like Cascadia a little bit more. The meaningful choice is where I have my hang up is because you can impact on both player strategy, but I think you have more of an impact in Sushi Go. Because of that pick and pass drafting, because someone may be hoping for a certain card to come back to them, and it's not going to come back to them. And the other one is just because the way the tiles come out and the way the animals come out, they're random. So it's one of those things like, okay, fine, whatever, type thing. Depth of strategy, tactics, or skill. Both of them have some draft, and it's just about depth because it's how you draft and how you build. So again, these games sit in the same mind, and so I'm trying to take my bias out of here. Right. I like Cascadia more for what it does, but both of them are very just simplistic and hit the same kind of... Yep. And I own both of these games. One hits the table more, and that's just because of the simple reason I like it more. So for me, I think Cascadia moves on, but Sushi Go Party can push...
I agree with you. Cascadia is more of my favorite. I like Cascadia more. I think Sushi Go should move on. And the reason being is Sushi Go is one of the very few games, and this is why I'm arguing for immersion for it, is because, yeah, the kawaii food and all that stuff, yeah, I get why you don't like it. Same thing, like, you don't like chibi, stuff like that. I get it. But
yeah, there's very few chibi games.
But you're in the minority on that, right?
Yeah,
and you know that, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the argument against it. This is one of the few games where people play it and they go, this is making me hungry. And that is the theme of the game, is to make a meal. And when it puts your natural body functions...
Except for you.
I don't like sushi, but like I get why people like play this and go, this is like, it's making me hungry, like doing that.
Well, I play Sushi Go while eating sushi, so...
Right. I just feel like that's more immersive than like, hey, we're making nature for nature.
I'm not disagreeing with you. If you want to push Sushi Go, push Sushi Go. Like I said, both of these sit in my mind in pretty much the same spot. Yeah. And I can argue either way for either one of these games.
Right.
So.
I think, I agree. They're both very simple. They're both easy to play. But personally, I think Sushi Go should move on. The other one is the replay value. Even though, while I agree with you, like the different ways of scoring is one thing, Sushi Go has that same thing in spades, right? It has the different cards that score in different ways, and the different ways that they build off of each other is different too. Whereas Cascadia doesn't technically have the building off of each other; it's just a different function on how it scores. But the fact that it plays 8 players and 30 minutes flat regardless, right? It's 20 to 30 minutes no matter the player count. That's the biggest scale you can do, pretty much, right? It doesn't matter the player count. Technically, you could play that many. But then also, meaningful choice, the only thing that I feel tips this, again, in Sushi Go's favor, is, as much as I dislike hate drafting, that is a thing you need to consider. And if I look to my left, and that's where I'm passing it, and you have 2 of the 3 sashimis, and I have it in my hand, I need to make that choice. Do I take that sashimi, or do I go on something that I might want more?
Yeah.
Which one's going to pay off for me? And that's not a thing in Cascadia at all.
Yeah,
I'm never going to look at that forest and go, you need that forest, I better take it.
Honestly, it's not the tiles that I really do that for. It's like, I really need that specific animal, and they haven't been coming up. Do I spin this pine cone right now? Right. Because I know you're going after it too. So do I want to save it for your turn?
Right.
And so that's why it's like, that's why it sits in my mind with Cascadia.
Similar. Yeah, I get that. I personally, like I said, I think Sushi Go moves on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like you make that argument. It's like, they both sit in my mind.
I like Cascadia better. Yep. I do. But I do think it's more appropriate for this. So, Sushi Go party.
Just because you don't want to argue Sushi Go anymore. That's what it is.
No, I would want to argue for Cascadia, honestly, because I prefer Cascadia over.
No, I'm saying you want Sushi Go to ascend. This way you don't have to mess with it anymore.
No.
Because you want to keep arguing Cascadia.
No. We're good on that. No. That's not how that's going to work. Horrified versus Carcassonne is this next one. Both Horrified is in our top games of all time. Carcassonne is my favorite game of all time.
You again?
Yep, me again.
You get Carcassonne, so there you go.
Yes!
You finally got one that you love.
Finally.
This game's trash, by the way.
Oh, goodness. What can I say about Carcassonne that has not been said yet? I will give you that Horrified is more immersive. I give you that.
Much more immersive.
I will not give you that it's easier to play. I think Carcassonne is easy to play because anybody who's done a jigsaw puzzle knows how Carcassonne works. Put like things towards like things. That's all you got to do. If it fits, it works. That's all it is. You can play it more. It's strategic, but that is all it is. Art and production.
That's Horrified.
That is Horrified.
That is Horrified.
I want to be clear that as much as I like Carcassonne, I am taking my bias out of it. The art and production is just significantly better. And that's even with really fancy versions of Carcassonne. Really pretty. Great. Replay value, Carcassonne.
Well, so it's funny when I'm looking at Horrified too, and it's like they made the smartest decision ever when it comes to Horrified. Yeah. They made the miniatures the monsters, and your characters are the standees. Yep. And it's like, for you to sell that game, you need the monsters to be the plastic. It is a fantastic choice.
Right, exactly. I couldn't agree more. But let me argue how Carcassonne works. It's a tile laying game. You have a number of meeples, 7 meeples at the beginning of the game. On your turn, you draw a tile. You place it down in the grid. It has to be adjacent to one existing tile already. Like things have to match, so city tiles have to... Hold on, I will give you time, sir. Sir.
I'm not saying anything.
Sir.
I'm letting you talk.
Sir, hand me that lightsaber so I can hit you with it. No, so... I'm just explaining how the game works for anybody who has not played it yet, which you should.
All right, wake me up when you're done.
All right, sounds good. I will. With a jab with the lightsaber.
Hold on, time out. I like Carcassonne. Like we were mentioning earlier.
Sure.
I prefer the new version of it.
The Mists over Carcassonne. Yeah, it turns it into a
because it is it's much more of a puzzle when you're having to work with other people on that puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, you can play to each other's strengths in a cool way. Yeah, I give you that. So what you do is, on your turn, you place down the tile. Like things have to go to each other. So cities have to touch cities, grasslands, and roads to roads. Cities, upon completion, are worth 2 points per tile that they encompass. And roads are 1 point upon completion. There's also some cloisters, which will go by a majority. And you can put down farmers, which will score completed cities that are adjacent to it. So on your turn, once you place down that tile, you may place one of your 7 meeples onto the board. They will technically stay there until that feature is completed. So if they're in a town, once that town is sectioned off, then you can get your meeple back after scoring it. It's a very delicate balance of when to send out your meeples at the right time, when to leave stuff for other people, and when to maneuver onto others, which is why he hates this. Because you are not allowed, if you place a tile that extends a city or a road, you can't put a meeple on there if it's already owned by another player. However, if you place a tile in a way that they are not connected, and you put a meeple down, that's totally fair. And by later placement of a tile that they do combine, well, it's whoever has the most meeples gets the points. So you can't directly fight
I don't hate it. I hate the way you did it because you kinged-baked.
I did not.
You kept picking on me, and you let G.A.M.E.R Dom run away with the game.
No, that is not how that worked.
That is exactly how it worked. We lost by like 30 points to G.A.M.E.R Dom.
No.
Yes?
You did. I did not. I was pretty close.
No, you were not.
I was. No, the problem you had... we're not going to get into this. We've had this discussion before. What I'm saying, though, is there's a reason why this game, after 24 years, is still being talked about. It came out in 2000... No, 25 years. It came out in 2000. And it won the Spiel des Jahres that year. And it's still being sold in stores because it's just been that popular for a quarter of a century.
It's not that popular on BGG. That's our 5 seed.
That is our 5 seed. Well, I mean, come on. It's bigger than Sushi Go Party, Harry Potter, and Risk Legacy.
Look at the names you just talked about.
I'm just saying. A game about... It invented the meeple, for goodness sakes. So pieces and components have to go to Kark. Because it invented the meeple.
Just because it invents something.
Because it invented the meeple.
We're not talking about legacy here.
It invented the meeple, and I will die on this hill. No, but it's the art and production still gets horrified. I'm just saying, pieces and components, that part, meeple. All right, so with that being said, though, I think it is
Frankenstein monster.
I think it's more replayable. And I do think that it has like a significant amount of meaningful choice and ease of play. I could see it going either way, but I know which one you're going to argue. Like, let's hear your argument for.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, even if it does move on, there's going to be fights in the next round because look who it gets matched up with.
Well, we should move it on to have the real argument going. No.
Whack. In all honesty, I can't dispute anything you're saying about Carcassonne. It is not my favorite game on their top 8. In fact, I like Cities more than I like Carcassonne, which is the one that just missed out. Carcassonne's fine. It shows its age from time to time, but it is still a very fun game.
And like how many people still brought it up in our honorable mentions, right?
And the thing about it, too, is... I just prefer the Mists over Carcassonne. I like doing that puzzle as a group.
Yep. Because it's an expansion.
I know, and you can use it as an expansion in the base game where it becomes competitive.
Yep. More replay value.
So, it's fantastic. I don't disagree with you. There's a reason why it's a modern classic, if you will. Excuse me. But it is my least favorite out of this grouping. I like Horrified a lot. It's on both of our top 100. Carcassonne did not even touch my top 100.
Oh, it touched mine.
Oh, yeah, it did.
The number one.
And it didn't get dethroned at all. But I love the game immersion of not Carcassonne, Horrified. I really do feel, and it's probably the most immersive out of all the Horrifieds at that point too. It's because it does give you that legendary, classic Universal monsters and stuff like that. They play really well. My big gripe with Horrified, and I've told you this one before, is like the Frankenstein monster one. Is not even from the original Universal monster movies. It was the second movie where they're building the Bride of Frankenstein. It's like, give me the first movie where he's trying to find his humanity type thing. So, but no, other than that, I love everything about it. The art and production is fantastic and Horrified. The biggest thing is the graphic design. It's very readable. You know the creature from the Black Lagoon is the only one that gets to play in the water. I love that aspect. You understand your characters. I love the asymmetry on that one. That's why I like it for a meaningful choice to a certain extent, just because of that asymmetry. But you are beholden to some arbitrary choices every now and then, just because you can, and just like with Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Island, the bad stuff is in cards, and so they can ramp up really quickly if the bad cards are at the top of the deck, and that's where the arbitrary choice comes in. But you do have a lot of good talking points going back to game immersion with the group, because you have to work as a team. But at its core, Horrified is a pick up and deliver game to the simplest. So I've played a lot of pick up and deliver games. This is by far the simplest one. You're either picking up the utensils or the equipment to take it over to do something for the monsters sections, or you're picking up villagers and dragging them to the spot for you can get reward cards. It's literally, that's your whole core mechanism. There's not a lot of strategy and tactics to an extent, except for what you're communicating with your cohorts. Both are very simple games. Carcassonne, you play a card down, or you tile down, you place a meeple, maybe. Horrified, very simple. I have this many number of actions depending on my character, and I can do all the same set of actions depending on what capabilities I have. One of my things that I like that Horrified does, and we talked about it when we talked about the Google thing, is like I can institute a trade as one of my actions. Mm-hmm. I don't have to be part of the trade. It's like, I need you to give your blue stuff to this guy because his turn's coming up and he's going to go over there and turn those blue stuff in. So I'm going to initiate a trade. We're all in this spot. I'm going to initiate the trade. You give your blue stuff to this guy because he can go do that. That kind of thing. I like that aspect of it because we could still work as a group and I don't have to be involved with it. I can just use one of my actions to be like, hey, all right, this is what we decided. I'll use my turn to trade. You do that, you do that. But you guys need to come over to me for I can do that for you guys, or at least where I can get into the space near you. Yeah. I do like all of that. The replay value, Carcassonne, hands down. It has, 9 expansions?
No, more than that.
Huh?
More than that.
10?
Yeah, like 10.
I know it's
10 to 12 that are non-base game expansions. And you have like the Wheel of Fortune, which is a full base game.
Yeah.
Mist over Carcassonne, which is a full base game.
And
plus numerous like mini expansions. Yeah. Realistically, altogether, there's like 20 to 30 expansions.
So there's nothing really I can see Horrified over Carcassonne and most of these other categories other than art production and game immersion. So those are the two I give to Horrified. Yeah. But the meaningful choice, there's much more of it in Carcassonne. Both are very simple games, but Carcassonne is very simple. Take a tile, drop a tile, place a meeple. That's it. Horrified is like, I gotta do this, here's my set of actions, I gotta do this, that kind of thing. And then bad stuff happens. Yep. Though, mind you, both are very simple. Carcassonne is just slightly simpler. Just the other three, the G.A.M.E.R, part of our gamer criteria. Yep. I give to Carcassonne.
Okay, Carcassonne moves on.
Which is, we're about to have fights.
I don't think we will. All right, so that finishes our quarterfinals. Let's hear how much vote went to each of the 4 games that were eliminated.
Yeah, the first game eliminated was Risk Legacy. It had no votes. It was not loved at all. I kind of felt bad for that.
Yeah, a little bit.
The next one that was eliminated was Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. It also had a low amount of votes. It had 4% of the vote. Cascadia was actually one of our largest vote getters from the Best Solo Art category. Yep. Won 23% of the vote. And then finally, Horrified, just eliminated, had 10% of the vote.
Yep.
So going into our second round, we have the 1 seed 7 Wonder Duel going up against the
4 seed, or no, 6 seed Sushi Go Party. Here we go. I'll be me again. Gotta get ready for this. 7 Wonders Duel or Sushi Go Party.
This is going to be kind of interesting.
They could not be more different.
But they could not be more of the same, too. Very simplistic in aspects. You get 7 Wonders Duel again.
Yeah, 7 Wonders Duel, man, this is, like, because of our criteria, this is going to be a hard argument between them.
It is, because
Sushi Go just significantly gets a lot of these. Just hands down. Meaningful choice, though, 7 Wonders Duel, hands down. Because 7 Wonders Duel has a very strong head-to-head, 3 different outlets to win. So 7 Wonders Duel, what really sets it apart is that these games are incredibly different. But 7 Wonders Duel has deep strategy, because what you could do is you have to win in like 2 of the 3 categories and not let them just carry the third one. Because if I completely ignore war because I'm trying to build up my other 2, you can still take it by just completely destroying my style. There's so much head-to-head critical thinking, but not in an unreasonable amount of play space. It works really well. It plays in about 45 minutes, give or take, which is good for a 2-player game. And so much that this system not only inspired a bunch of duels, but made a Lord of the Rings duel that is heavily inspired off of this game. So, I mean, 7 Wonders Duel is like synonymous. There's a reason it won our 2015, and it's a reason why it's the highest ranked in all of ours.
And Bruno Cathala, too.
And Bruno Cathala, yeah. And I think it's just an absolutely fantastic game for what it's trying to do. So Meaningful Choice, obviously, I think goes to it. I wouldn't argue game immersion with it. I would argue for art and production, though. And, but I'm not sure if it'll go on because of those other 2.
Yeah, we'll get
So let's see what your argument is.
Sushi Go Party is both games are fun to lose. That's the big thing about this. Both games are fun to lose. Because the reason why it's fun to lose for me in 7 Wonders Duel is because I feel really clever and I think I've done really well, even though I didn't get the victory.
Yeah.
And so I still feel clever when I lose in 7 Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
Sushi Go, it's still fun to lose because you're just like laughing and joking. It's a very calm game where you're just hanging out with your buddies and playing cards and having a good time. So both of those are really good games, the fun to lose. And it's not like you don't feel clever when you do something really cool in 7 Wonders. It's like... But the memorable moments, it's more along the lines where I think Sushi Go wins there, and it's because of those memorable moments when it comes back. It's like, I want both of these cards. I guess I'll go with this one and hope this card comes back to me. And when it does, you're like, yes, I got it. And then you finally grab it that time. That's one of those things that really reminds you of why you like playing board games and stuff like that, where it's like, all right, it's not that I didn't feel clever, it's just that I got the thing and I got my hope, and it means they're not going for these things right now, but then people are going to start paying attention. Oh, you're collecting all those. Maybe I don't want this to come to you, but does it hurt me and stuff like that? So I think that has some really good aspects. The art production, I give that to 7 Wonders Duel as well, and here's why. My biggest gripe about Sushi Go Party, and it's not because it's the gameplay, it's the packaging. I will knock games for coming in a tin.
Yep, we talked about packaging as part of it, right?
And that's the big thing. It's like one of my favorite games, right up there sitting over Everdell, is Fallout Shelter.
Yep.
I have to move that around all the time when I'm trying to put stuff on the shelf because I can't sit anything on top of it. I can't put it in a spot where it can fall, and because you're going to dent things. It's one of those things, like I don't even have my original Sushi Go in its tin anymore. It's in one of my photo cases over here because, again, I have nowhere to put it. Another game that I'm a big fan of is the Little Devils. It comes in a tin. I keep it in a photo case. I have the original boxes. They're sitting in my closet over here. It's just... what can you do? And they're sitting in a little basket in the box on top of everything. This way the tins don't get dented. That is a problem for me. And that's why I think 7 Wonders Duel wins art in production. One, the art is fantastic in 7 Wonders. 7 Wonders Duel. It is great art. Both games are very legible. And it's just, I give the pieces and components. That's why 7 Wonders Duel wins art in production. Meaningful choice, I agree with you. I think that is also Seven Wonders Duel because you have to play well. I could pivot much more in Sushi Go Party.
Yeah.
But other than that, ease of play and replay value, I think that Sushi Go Party. And the main reason by it, though there is a bunch of expansions in Seven Wonders Duel, the minimum number of plays for the full experience is in Sushi Go Party. Yeah. You build the menu, so I can. It's going to take me a little bit to play with every different set in there because there's a bunch of sets in there.
And that's even comparing it to like the 7 wonders you can draft from.
Yeah,
that's still 7 options.
Yes,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. But this one, there's so many combos, so many variances that you can do. Mm-hmm. I can make it simple. I can make it harder. I can make it intriguing with the way some of these things work. That replay value is right there, and I think that's the Sushi Go when it comes to the minimum number of plays for the full experience. And the length and time is scaling well. Seven Wonders Duel is probably always going to run you about 45 minutes or so. Yeah. Sushi Go Party, I can play an 8-player game if everybody knows what they're doing in the same amount of time. Yep. So that's where I think Sushi Go Party moves on because of replay value. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Seven Wonders Duel. There's a reason why it won twice in their things, but I think Sushi Go Party does move on.
I agree, actually. Sushi Go Party moves on, defeating our number 1 seed, Seven Wonders Duel. That's surprising, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On to our next one.
Here comes the contention.
Carcassonne. No, I don't think it'll be contention. I think you and I can take our bias out of it enough where we can make sound arguments for this.
Flip it.
You're starting us off.
I actually get to start something?
Yeah, who knew, right?
Shocking. All right. I get Wingspan. Okay. That actually works out the best for us.
Yeah.
Because I know this one more than you do, and you know Carcassonne more than I do.
I do.
All right. So, Wingspan, hands down, the one category I will not budge on is art and production.
Yes. Agreed. I agree with that. I don't disagree. As much as I am okay with the production. Like, I like the tiles, invented the meeples, sure, I say in jest.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with that. It's hard to hold a candle against
Stonemaier, yeah.
Yeah. But go on.
So. For me, also with Wingspan, I like the immersiveness of it. I know yours like, it's multiplayer solitaire. There's a lot more player interaction in Carcassonne.
Yes.
Because of the way you're playing the tiles and you're putting their stuff out there. Yep. Both games are fun to lose, especially when you're doing the Miss over Carcassonne. Because it's like the first time we ever played Miss over Carcassonne, I think it was the second time for you, but it was the first time for me since I had gotten the game.
Yep.
And we played it with Damn It Dom. He's like, let's run that back. It's like, let's play that again.
Yeah.
That is going to happen because it can be fun when you're doing stuff like that. Both games are fun to lose because, and again, I do not want to stress this too much, but you do feel clever when certain things happen. And it's just for me when it comes to engine builders for Wingspan. I feel clever when my engine fires. There's been times where I play Wingspan, I don't even touch anything at the bottom level, like the water level, because I have my feeding thing. I do this, I get my food, I trigger this, I can cache this, I can trigger this, I got that. And I still get a decent amount of points on there and compete. And so you do feel clever when stuff happens on that one. Now, my caveat on Wingspan is when it comes to meaningful choice. Again, you can feel clever, but there's going to be certain times where you're just not getting the luck of the draw, whether it's based on the card pulls. You have 3 face up, you can take it and it fills immediately, a la Ticket to Ride style. However, there's 3 face up, I don't want those, okay, I'll take blind. Oh, that's not what I really needed for birds to really work with synergize with my engine.
Yep.
That's fine, because I can use these for another part of the engine, which I call the tuck engine, where you're tucking birds under if they're hunting or stuff like that, or flocking is the best way to say it. But it also lends itself very lucky to the dice rolling.
Yeah.
And that's
with
what
the food resources, which we haven't brought up yet.
Yeah, and so that's where it becomes very lucky with that, the food resources. Now, they've done certain things that make it work, is if the dice face all show the same thing, you can re-roll the dice.
But that doesn't mean you'll get what you want.
It still won't get what you want. And the thing is,
likelihood.
Yeah, the thing that they fixed that in Finspan, that aspect of it, which I like. And same with Wormspan, is there's no rolling of dice for food.
Yep.
Now, it kind of works thematically too, because sometimes the birds are not going to find the food that they want to eat, or specifically, so they have to hunt for the food, and it's basically a famine in a sense.
Yep.
But it's all beholden to the dice roll. So that's my issue with there. So you're going to get a lot of arbitrary choice. You do have a lot of strategy in there if you can get the stuff to fire well. So that's where it's like meaningful choice, I think, is going to end up going to Carcassonne because of that, even though I prefer Wingspan over all these other games right now.
Sure.
But impacting other player strategy, too. You don't really impact anybody in this game. So that's, as much as I like it, the biggest impact you're going to have on other people is you take a specific bird that they want.
Yep.
That is it.
There's really no other impact at all.
And this is the why I don't think Wingspan's moving on. Carcassonne is just much more simpler than Wingspan.
Yep.
Now, if we were arguing Finspan versus Carcassonne, I could have a better argument because Finspan is by far the most streamlined of the Span games. Because everything is a common knowledge. It's like, I have my deck of cards. I don't have to spend anything for those deck of cards. I have my discard pile on my own that I can bring back based on certain actions. So everything's open in Finspan. In Wingspan, you don't have that ability. So it's gonna hurt. And this is one of the few games that will hurt when it comes to ease of replay value. Wingspan, more than likely, is going to win when it comes to replay value because of all the different cards, all the different expansions that have already been guaranteed and stuff like that. It's going up against Carcassonne, which has like 10 or 12 expansions.
Yeah.
So
it scales bigger.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. With
1 to 7,
expansions,
right?
it can go up to 8.
8. Okay,
depending on if you get... It's 2 to 5... No, hold on. It's 2 to 5 in the base game for Kark, right? Yeah. Standard. It plays significantly shorter, so it scales
I'll give
better.
You that, yeah.
But it does play up to 8 players.
So does Wingspan.
Okay.
The most recent Asian expansion allowed it to go up to 8 players. By the way, I would never play it 8 players. I don't recommend it because
that still loses. It can play 8 players. You should never play it. That
they did a decent caveat with the 8 players. Yeah. Whereas you'll have basically 2 draw piles and you'll have 2 areas, and you do a little board, so 2 players are always going at once. So basically, it's an 8-player game that plays somewhat in a 4-player style. I don't disagree, but I'm saying it can do that.
I appreciate that. I still think even at a 4-player game of Wingspan is still shorter than like a 6-player game of Kark.
Oh yeah, longer. You mean longer?
Oh yeah, it's still longer, right? It still doesn't scale like that. That helps.
Yeah,
but
don't get me wrong. I think it's kind of cool that I want to try and see if it works at a 4-player game where 2 people are just going at once. I don't think it will, but
I don't know.
But
that's weird.
I would never touch Wingspan at 8 players.
No.
Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they got people the option. If you want to do it, knock yourself out. I struggle playing games at 5 players, just because of the length of time, and so I will struggle playing that at 5 players as well.
Yeah.
And my big thing about it too is we ran into this problem. We played a fun game last night. Mm-hmm. It really overstayed its welcome. And Wingspan, if you play it more than 4 players, I think will overstay its welcome. It's pushing it when it's 4 players. But because of the group I play with, we've played it so much, it goes quicker. It doesn't feel like it's overstaying its welcome. If I played it with all new 4 players, I can see people being like, okay, this is taking a little too long.
Yeah, when we were demoing it, each game would take about 2.5 hours because we're at the
everybody's learning. They have to learn the cards. Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Yep.
So based on our criteria, even though and you're kind of shocked about this too, I think Carcassonne moves on.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised too. The only real thing that I wanted to reiterate on this is that with meaningful choice, yes, there is more to do in Wingspan, and I give you that. Like, the engine works really well when it pays off, right? And there's a lot of opportunities for it to pay off. But what makes it different, just because, and I say this in almost any debate that we compare such widely different games, just because there are more things to do does not make it more meaningful choice, right? Go is a perfect example of that. You put a piece down on where 2 lines merge. There's no other rules than that, right?
Yeah.
And it's that is one of the hugely most deep strategy games you can play. because of that, and that's how much weight that it has into it, and that's why like every time you place a tile, it might not help you, but there is so many permutations that it can help other players.
Yeah.
Or really impact the game state every single time a tile gets put down. And there's a lot of deep timing into it. Now, again, I played a lot, so I'm to that point where it's getting that. But you're right. I mean, the arbitrary card pull, while you could make the argument that Carcassonne, yeah, you pull a tile, but they are so similar
well, you also have
nature.
Tiles. Don't you start with tiles in your hands? Or
No.
I think that's a variant.
You draw and place one, yeah. There are versions where you have like a hand of 3 and you can do that. And so you're beholden to that random. But still, that doesn't mean, like with the add-on with the dice as you brought up, right?
But the thing is also with the beholden to the random, there's a lot of, once you get further into the game, there's a lot more choices when it comes to just that one random tile.
Right.
Whereas in Wingspan, you have, in essence, 4 cards, and you only know 3 of them. So if you're like, I don't like these 3, you have to be very lucky on that 4th draw.
And I mean, the dice can hurt. Yeah, I mean, sure, you could spend 2 for 1, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I have a card in my hand and everything requires berries, and I never roll berries, like, that is such an... Like, can you imagine playing Carcassonne where there's a cost and you just can't play a tile because you just...
Yeah.
For some reason, dice didn't roll and you can't place a tile.
There is... We haven't mentioned this. In Wingspan, there is a mitigation for that, but it's not very efficient.
Right.
It's for 2 resources to turn into 1 resource. Yep. If you really need to get that bird out, you can do it.
Yes.
It's just, it's not efficient, and you don't feel clever when you have to do that. It's like, I'm wasting something.
Yeah, exactly. The light takes 2 actions versus the 1, right? Yeah. And so that hurts. But I agree. I mean, replay value, Kark just outweighs it, outscales it, out expands it, barely.
Barely. Like I said, the only game on this list that can...
that could do that, yeah. This really is the only one that could hold a candle to that. Ease of play, it is easier, and I think there is a deeper strategy in it. I agree with immersion. Actually, with... and
it's funny.
With Wingspan.
Yeah.
Like, more so, like, and I do want to make the counter against Carcassonne, because this will be bringing up. Yes, like, that memorable moment that we have, right, where I was able to maneuver into, like, your massive town, just because I got the right situation where I'm like, you have a way too big of a town, I need to get in on this, so that way, and you put in all the effort, but I can still score the points if I can play my cards right, and yes, that hurts for you, but I would say that hurts for you more than it makes me feel clever doing that. You know what I mean?
That's more you king-maked when you did that.
No, well, hold on. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, versus in Wingspan, where it's like, hey, I'm trying to build up this engine, and when it finally kicks, that's when it's going to be... That's a better endorphin run than me wiggling onto your town, right?
I don't disagree with that respect. But for me, is that where Wingspan is at its cleverest is when your engine's firing. But how you get to that engine is a different story because of how much luck is in there.
Right.
But we agree.
So Carcassonne moves on.
The 2 that just got eliminated was Seven Wonders Duel, which was our number 1 seed. It had 16% of the vote, and Wingspan, which had 29% of the vote, and I believe it was our highest vote getter.
Yeah.
So oof. That hurts.
Which means our finals for the top 8 Champions Edition is Carcassonne versus Sushi Go Party.
There's 2 reasons I want...
What a strange combination.
I kind of want Carcassonne to win. Mind you, we're not...
So...
We're for 2 reasons.
I know one of them.
2 reasons. 1, you get your favorite game Ascended, which would put both of our number 1 games as Ascended.
Yep.
And 2, I don't want to argue Carcassonne anymore.
I knew that was it.
And here's the other thing, too. Wingspan... Always the bridesmaid. I think every year it's made it into our top 8 final.
I think it has, yeah.
our Champions Edition.
Considering the previous rounds have been Concordia, Return to Dark Tower, Gloomhaven, and Pandemic Legacy, I'm surprised Wingspan isn't in the list. Yeah.
It's because it always loses in the...
Yeah. Wow. No kidding, huh?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I think all 5 years Wingspan has been on it. I was trying to check the logs, but I just didn't have enough time. I'll look into it after the thing's over. But yeah, it's funny that it's almost been in every, if not every one, at least 4 of the 5.
Right.
So yeah, but let's get into it. We have Carcassonne going up against Sushi Go. What's also interesting about this, These are low seeds. These are 5 and 6.
Yes.
The 1s, the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s all got knocked out.
Yep.
So that is intriguing to me as well. Again, we don't choose a side on this one. We go strictly to our gamer criteria as we're going through this. This will help us determine, because there's no reason to make an argument. We made this all the way through so far. So is there anything that stands out to you?
Yes. There is. And that is replay value.
Yeah, exactly. That's Kirk.
Goes to Kirk. I also feel art and production would probably go to Sushi Go.
Oh, let me look at that real quick.
I mean, maybe. Oh no, meaningful choice goes to Kirk.
Meaningful choice goes. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Game immersion, I feel, is Sushi Go though.
Yeah, I give you that.
Okay.
Yep. Sushi Go Party gets game immersion because there is just more. You feel a little bit clever. I like the fact that the way you feel when a card comes back to you, you're like, yes, it worked.
Yeah.
I get to have both the things that I want.
Yeah. And again, when does your body naturally respond to a board game like Sushi Go?
that is true.
Like when you're playing halfway through Sushi Go and somebody's stomach growls, like you can't get more immersive than that, right?
I will say I like the art better in Sushi Go.
Yes.
I also like the graphic design more in Sushi Go.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So I think right there alone...
Granted, Kark doesn't have graphic design.
Yeah.
It doesn't need graphic design. It literally just has towns, grass, and roads. That's all it is.
It's one of our criterias.
Yep.
But I will not give Sushi Go pieces of components because the overall packaging matters, and I dislike tins. I dislike them to the nth degree. And the same reason why I hate awkward boxes, because they don't sit on the shelf properly.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But I have art and production going to Sushi Go. How about you?
And Carcassonne has always been in a box.
Always.
Except for the Phantom expansion, it came, and the dice version, it comes in a meeple tin. Ugh. So not only do you have the tin... You know, the uncomfortableness, that's the dice version. That's not what we're arguing. Yeah. But it's a meeple shape, no less. You can't put anything on a meeple shape.
All right, so from what I'm seeing here, it's 2-2.
Is this Kark? Was art and production?
No, Sushi Go Party was art and production.
Sushi Go Party. I agree with that.
So we have ease of play. Both are fairly simple.
Okay.
Pick a card, that's your card.
Right.
The other one, you take a tile, you place a tile, you may put a meeple down.
Right. May I argue one thing about simplicity of the mechanisms?
Okay.
The different scoring, while very simple, there's only 3 different ways to score, or 4 different ways to score in Carcassonne, and they're static the whole time. Mm-hmm. That is easier, and there's even a variant where you can play with where you don't even play farmers, so it makes it even more simple.
Oh, no. It's not a variant anymore.
Oh, no, that's true.
It is the base you don't play with a farmer. It's the variant that adds the farmer.
But there's also the very powerful 2-tile towns that close off immediately. Those are now, there's a variant where you only play those being 2 points instead of the 4. Because they're so easy to create. And that was a big, heavy strategy as people were just...
I get it, yeah.
Together. Yeah.
I don't disagree, so...
But, with that being said, minimum number of plays for the full... we're ease of play. Likelihood to get to the table. Probably Sushi Go.
Yeah.
Right? Easy to learn, understand, or teach. Probably Carcassonne, because of that jigsaw puzzle-y nature of it.
Yeah, I give you that. I don't disagree with those either.
Yeah.
So the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, which is the food. Oh no, because that was the theme. Yeah. So the simplicity and familiarity. Pick and pass drafting, or tile draft a tile, or pick up a tile and put it down.
Man, how simple is that, right? Simplicity is technically Kark, right? Because there's only one choice on your turn. You get the one tile.
No, there's 2 choices on your turn. You get the one tile, you place the tile, and then you got to choose if you're going to put a meeple down. There's 2 choices.
That's true. Versus a hand of cards that score differently.
Yeah.
And the player
hope and pray that's the other card that you want.
Let's compare other things in life that are similar to this. You have NFL draft, sports draft. Like, people know what drafting is. You just pick one, that's yours, right? Like, then it's no longer available for other people. Whereas, tile laying, that's a puzzle. Tangrams, all of those are the same. Right?
I know what I think is much more simplicity and familiarity. because there's a whole other hobby kind of based on tile placement.
Jigsaw puzzles.
Jigsaw puzzles. And it's basically what you're doing is you're taking a tile and trying to find the right spot to fit it into.
Yeah.
That is literally...
When that mechanism is a completely different hobby.
Yeah. That's the only thing I could really argue for Carcassonne on that aspect. Because, there's all these drafting...
Yeah, but like if I go to a restaurant, I have all the choices. Which one am I going to pick? That's a draft, right?
In a sense.
But that doesn't take it away from the person next to me.
And you also got to think about this fact when it comes to drafting.
Yeah.
Most people are not familiar with pick and pass drafting. What you're describing when it comes to the NFL draft, you're just picking the best player. Mm-hmm. Or if you're playing like fantasy football, it's a snake draft. So you're taking a player and then it's not going to come to your turn till back into the next draft or the beginning of the second round. So it like more games. We just recently played a game that has a snake draft. Veils of Eternity. Mm-hmm. That has a snake draft. That is going to be more familiar to people for those that play fantasy football because it's like, based on where you're at, if I am the third or fourth player, my second round pick is going to be closer. When it comes to pick and pass drafting, though very simple to us, it's pretty simple to explain, but more people are going to be getting, here's your tile, find a place to fit it into. Like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. I can't argue that. I think you're right.
All right, so with that being said, that means Kark wins 3-2. Though Sushi put up its fight.
I know. Of all things, right? Like, that's surprising that Sushi Go got into the finals. It really is. But Carcassonne moves on. Thus
it is
winning.
ascended.
It is now officially ascended. Now you no longer have to argue for it. And like I said, this was a very civil... I knew this was going to be civil.
It was going to be a little civil, yeah. I just knew Wingspan, there was going to be a fight, but once it went up against Kark, I was like, I can't argue ease of play, and I can't argue meaningful choice. I can, somewhat.
Yeah, you can argue, but that's not...
It's not going to do anything,
right?
I mean, there is meaningful choice in Wingspan. That is there, but arbitrary choices is going to be a problem. There is game immersion in there, somewhat, but there's more arguments in Carcassonne.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is, right? And I mean, like, the truth is, right? You know, whenever we say that, just because we're picking one game over the other for whatever criteria, it doesn't mean the other one doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just when you boil it down to its
what
core
does it
idea.
Better or...
Which one does it better, yeah. And Kark just has that more meaningful choice. Although you have plenty of people who argue Carcassonne is just 100% random. Actually... At our local game night, one of our not regulars anyway. You probably know who he is.
Okay.
But he comes in. He's been coming in for about 10 years or something. He argued that Carcassonne is the most random game in the world, and I said, okay, that's fine. You can say that, but if you and me play, I'll kick your butt at it. I guarantee it. It's like, and that won't be random. I will do it every time. Like, you can't do that with random. Like, you and me can roll 5 dice, and whoever rolls highest, that's random.
I mean, we just showed how random worked with the freaking coin flip.
Yeah, exactly.
I took, one out of...
one argument? Yeah.
One argument?
Yeah, no, you got 2, I think, maybe total.
No, I got 1. I got 1 in the...
I think you had, 1 at the very beginning, though.
No, you took all the first round.
Really? Did I? Oh,
yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention.
I took 1 in the second round, and we don't do the third round.
Well, congratulations to Carcassonne for now ascending. You are now with the likes of Concordia, Return to Dark Tower, Gloomhaven, and Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
I like the fact that our number 1s are both up there now. It kind of fits.
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
Very appropriate. Now our number 2s are next.
Man, I don't remember what my number 2 is. I got my papers right
Pretty sure mine was Bonanza. It was up there.
Yeah, so it's here. Here, I can check it.
Yeah, let's find out, yeah. My list.
Okay, I remember my number 2. My number 2 is Ascended.
What was your number 2 again?
Don't worry about it. You guys got to go listen to it.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yep, so is mine. My number 2 as well. Number 3's it is. All right, we want to thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we did. As always, you can email us directly. Tell us why we were right or wrong, or enter in future contests, or all sorts of cool things. We have an email address, everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Also, we have an Instagram, instagram.com/everydayboardgames. Check that out to see some of the games that we've been playing and some silly stuff that we tend to post from time to time.
All right, and all video re-uploads and reviews are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not. Like the video and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
Also, we stream all of our episodes live while we're recording them at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames, with some exceptions. Very rarely do we not stream live. So, go there, follow us, make sure you get notified whenever we join live, and join in on the conversation. We'd love to hear your input.
And all audio versions of our podcast can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So as always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.